We'll give everybody a couple minutes to join, and then we'll get started here. I should probably put mountain time on that though, Peter, to your point. 8 p.m. where? All right, how's everybody doing this evening? Where's everybody coming from? I'm in Colorado, Mountain Time. I'm going to update that on the splash screen for that. Hey, Robert from North Carolina. Peter. How are the lithophanes coming? Play around. The biggest hint that I'll give is play around with those settings in the color print, because it does change the different things that you can do there. So it does change the way, Peter from West Virginia. It does change the way that the backgrounds come out and some of the colors come out. So if you want some different ways to do that, play around with the different, how it has the default eSun four colors or whatever, play around with those other different colors. It changes that. The other update is you'll see tomorrow, I got a thing to be able to cut out those back plates for the LEDs. So we'll learn how to do that. And in some future videos, we'll learn about the LEDs and how to make all of that easy. So that's how that's going, Robert. And you didn't miss anything last week. We didn't have a thing. I was out doing rock crawling and side-by-side stuff. So we didn't have a live stream last week. Hey, Danny. Hey, Skyrider. So glad I'm catching this from California. Oh, yeah, emailed me on the PETGCF. How are you doing on that? Did that help with what you were doing with that? Finding some of my greens aren't showing well. Interesting. I wonder, Robert, they show that other kind of gold color in there, but maybe if you need, because that's a pretty bright yellow that's in there, right? That's a pretty bright yellow that's in there. So maybe if you're not getting the right shade, maybe, because this is just PLA basic, you can change the different shades here and I'm sure it'll affect the color, but maybe you can change the yellow or the blue to different shades to help with that green there. Struggling a bit, but it's getting there. Have you tried tuning it or calibrating it with Orca Slicer, Skyrider? What I did find, Robert, is if you can change the color temperature of the light, I found that the warmer the color, and I showed it in that video, but it does not do it justice. So you might want to play around with that. If the colors aren't showing up well, try changing the color temperature as well. That made it really pop out, but it also made the colors adjust a little bit, and I found that the colors looked a little bit better with that. So if you have the ability, Robert, try to change the color temperature or whatever. Have I been successful using support filament with PETGCF? Your computer is too old to use your Orca. Ooh, that sucks. I have not used support filament with PETGCF. The only time I've ever used support filament was the very first poop shoot, and that's a good segue to what I have on the screen too. The very first poop shoot that I ever printed, it came with a little half roll of that or whatever, and I used that, but I haven't used the support filament since. The main reason why is when I use supports, I use that hybrid tree support system, which works pretty well. But it's a color change basically, so it adds a whole lot of time to your print. If you absolutely need it for some super intricate stuff, then I could see using it there. Otherwise, it's like it's a color change, so it adds a lot of time. Out of 6 prints, 3 had good green, but the other 3 were blue heavy. Interesting. So before we get into user prints today, this is what I'm going to throw on the printer today. And this is my rendition of the poop shoot here. And you guys may be wondering, you can't put very much filament in there. And you're right. And it's not meant to hold filament. So this is actually the top of it. And this is just enough height to get to the top of the little chute in the back. And in the new studio, you guys will see more of the tables and stuff in there. But probably tomorrow I'll go in and cut a hole and put a trash can under it. Because again, and I'll probably go over this in the 6-month review, the poop chute is not enough. that thing fills up, especially if you're doing multicolor prints. So I have this thing directly going into a big old trash can, and I'll change it every 3 or 4 months instead of every couple of hours during a print. So I am using this PLA Plus from eSun. I have it in white here so we can see it better, but I'll be using that black, and that's the same one that I calibrated with Orca, and we'll also be using Orca today as well. So go ahead and change that to black. So Ice Tech asks, when using the textured plate, do you keep the printer closed or do you open the glass doors? I keep it closed for the most part, just so it stays warm. It does say to do that for certain things. If you're printing some exotic materials, follow the instructions that they have for each of the plates. If you didn't know, you can go into the plate and it'll tell you what's recommended for each of the different ones. But I typically don't leave that open or anything like that. I haven't seen a difference leaving it open or closing it. It hasn't had a dramatic difference or anything like that. So we'll go ahead and slice this guy here and print. And since I've tuned this filament or calibrated this filament, I don't do the flow calibration anymore. We'll go ahead and time lapse this one. The only thing that I do is the bed leveling, and that's it. Otherwise, the flow calibration is already done. That's what I did in that video. So I don't use that anymore, and it works good. And I did it for the PEI plate, but it works good for the cool plate as well. I've noticed that I don't have to change the settings or anything, and it works good on that plate too. So go ahead and send it. And Johnny asks, I really love these live streams. Thank you. Have you had any issues with Bambu Lab's printer? While most say it's great and give some maintenance tips, there's one channel that says 0% success. Yeah, I've had more than 0% success. I have had issues. You know, one of the things that I didn't like about my Creality is I felt like I had to tinker a whole bunch. And that wasn't something that I liked. And I mean, I had to tinker every single print to get that thing to print something good. And that wasn't quite right. I wouldn't say that I'm tinker free with the Bambu, but it seems like I have to tinker a whole lot less. And the tinkering isn't just getting it to get a quality print. It's making a really good print, you know, like doing the calibrations and different things like that. On my Creality, I had to have these setup blocks on the side because the gate was too heavy on one side. So I had to calibrate that every time and do all of that. So it's not tinker free, but it is not as bad. So the problems that I've had with it, nozzle clog, I've had that problem. And what you'll notice is a big ball kind of coming up along the nozzle. It kind of does that all the time, but you'll notice like a bigger one that starts to like, it'll start to leave like a drop or something in the print, and the flow of the print's not quite as good or whatever. And what's causing that is there's a partial block in the nozzle. So I've had that issue. Probably the one issue that I've had the most, Johnny, is sometimes you'll get filament to break up inside of the AMS, and you have to, it's not that bad. It's 2 screws on the top. You take that off, unplug 2 wires, flip it over, and then you find whichever tube has the clogged filament, and then you just kind of, it's the quick release tube type of stuff. And you get the filament out of there. So that's probably the biggest one that I've had, and not any specific filament on the nozzle clog, nor any specific filament on the breaking up inside of there, except which one was it? It was a Giant Arm, that high speed filament. that one seemed to break up inside of the AMS more than others. But I've had the Bambu filament break up in there, the eSun, which is one of my favorites. I don't run enough of the Paramount, so I haven't seen that. But really, and that's minor. That's really minor. Those are the only issues that I've had. Yeah, CR10 Pro. Yeah, that's the one that I had. That's the one that I had, Johnny. That one's back in its box and it's sitting in there for the past 84 years. Bambu is on the way. Yeah. So, Johnny, I went from that same one to the Bambu X1C for the same reasons. And, I was looking at some of the different, what's that one, mosaic palette or whatever for multicolor. So I was really glad to see the Bambu. And again, it's not tinker free, but it's manageable. And thank you, Skyrider. Everybody hit the like button. I appreciate everybody's support also. Watching my videos and watching these live streams. I appreciate everybody's support on there. And then Skyrider, I came from an Ender 5 Plus to the X1C in my Tinker to very successful print. 1 out of 10 to 12. Yeah, like I printed this tree. The first thing that I printed with that substance or whatever was this giant tree. And I mean, I printed the trunk in brown and that thing was huge, and the canopy in green, and it was huge, and I still have it. It's one of the better prints that I have. After that, could not get a good print on there. Could not get a print on there. And I tinkered with that thing. It, good grief, that thing made me mad. So yeah, I went from that same one, Johnny, directly to here. Did you try 3D printing the ones that is available for the PTF tube that make your life a whole lot easier? It was on printables. Are you talking about the little tube that helps you do the little quick disconnects, or what are you talking about there, Johnny? And while this gets up there, I have a really interesting story. We'll go through some more comments and everything. If there is a commercial or something come up, if you guys could put that in the chat so I don't talk over the commercial. I'd like everybody to hear this. But Peter, one of our longtime viewers, sent us a bunch of really cool pictures and a story. So I want to make sure everybody gets to see those and gets to hear the little story that he has behind those. So if somebody, Skyrider or Robert or Peter or somebody, if a commercial comes up while I'm telling this story, if you could put that in the chat, I'd appreciate it. So let me load some pictures here. Yeah, I do have those. Well, I didn't print the connectors, but I printed the little tool that helps with that. There's a couple of tools that help with unplugging the cables that are in the AMS hub on the back of it, as well as getting the little tubes out. But I will say, when you flip it over, what I use is that 2mm hex screwdriver or whatever. You can just fit that right in there and push that thing down and pop those out. So generally I use that, except when I'm messing around with the hub, I use that little tool. But I have printed out a couple of different versions of those. They're pretty good. All right, so we don't see 3D printing on here, but on this picture, but we will here in a minute, I promise. And this comes from Peter. And he sent me this cool story about this chess set that he built out of wood and 3D printing and everything. So we're going to go through all of these pictures here, and I'll try to do my best to go through the pictures. But he also sent me an email with a really cool story about the background, how he got here, and everything like that. And I thought it was really cool. So I asked Peter if I could share this with everybody today, and he let me know. So I'll go ahead and I'm just going to read it word for what Peter said, because this is pretty cool. So as we can see here, there's a log in Looks like a some sort of splitter or something to cut it out here. So Lenny attached are photos of the chess set I am making for my son-in-law and his two boys. I live in West Virginia near Augusta and about 25 miles from Winchester. I have 11 acres on top of a mountain with the nearest neighbor about a half mile away. We're an Australian family coming to the U.S. in 1978 as a transferee for a computer company I worked for. We lived in Minnesota, Burnsville. I've lived in Minnesota as well, Peter. Alabama, Florida, Niceville, and then in Washington, D.C. I also lived on the Virginia side of Washington, D.C. We bought the West Virginia property as a weekend getaway, but after my wife died in 2004, I had it winterized and improved and have lived here more or less permanently ever since. I retired a chief architect at Raytheon Home Security. My daughter's worried about me living alone, and we built Grandpa Pad in one of their basements in Skyville, Maryland, and I started spending more time with them. That changed with COVID. A ton of things changed with COVID. And they decided the safest place for me was back with where our nearest neighbor was a half mile away. With lots of time and little to do, I looked at all of those oak trees on the property and decided a sawmill. That's what I was thinking. That's what this is a little sawmill. Was a thing. That led to a kiln to dry the wood, which is this thing right here. A tractor to build trails to the mill location, logging trailers to haul logs, the mill, PTO winches to pull logs out of the woods, and the whole 9 yards. I got my first 3D printer in 2012, an Airwolf. You had to assemble it from a kit of parts. Sounds like the Voron. I built two, one for myself and one for my daughter. Used 3mm ABS filament. In 2014, I got a all-in-one Zeus, which only printed 1.75 PLA, but was a giant step forward in technology and ease of use over the Airwolf. By 2017, I'd pretty much lost interest in 3D printing until now with the X1C. I think a lot of us are in the same boat with that, especially Johnny coming from the Creality and some of those older ones that didn't work so well. And then we'll get into some more of these pictures here. We see the wood that was dried in the kiln here. Then we'll start to see the making of the chess set. Let's go through a couple here. This is actually like one of the white squares. As you can see, the squares there that are all 3D printed. That's really cool. There's the inside of it to hold all of the pieces. Then let's look at these chess pieces here. So solar kiln, sawn wood going into kiln to dry. Printed black pieces in PLA CF, the whole ones in PLA marble. Printed 14 of the 16 on a single plate with the 2 nights separately as they require support. Takes about 7 hours to do the 14-piece print. That's actually not too bad. 7 hours. I was thinking it'd take a lot longer than that. The nights were printed separately and take about 2 hours. Support came off fairly easily. Every piece is about 4 inches tall. So that's really cool. These things are giant. Except the king and queen, 4.5 inches, and the pawns are 3 inches. I got the Stu model from a company in Australia, commercial license with no limits. Trays are 8 inches wide by 7 inches long by 1.6 inches high, created in Tinkercad. Wow. So it's one of the things that I use as well. And each take about 4.5 hours to print. Each takes about 220 grams of filament. There's an insert for a small magnet in the center of each tile. So I was wondering about that. That's what this is, right, Peter? And then that magnet goes into the center of each of these, if I'm reading this correctly, which is really, really cool. The designers of the chess pieces have placed an open cylinder inside each piece that I have taped a 6 millimeter and threaded in 35 millimeter long bolts. This provides a bottom centric weight to each piece and also attracts the magnet as a piece of the board. Really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that story behind making all of this, and that this is all from wood that you sawed in a sawmill and kiln dried with a solar kiln and everything. So let's take a look at some of these chess pieces. What do you guys think of? Leave a like or a comment for Peter's chess set. I thought this was really super cool. And again, Peter, thank you for sharing this with us. And there's the magnet with the bolt and everything. Super cool. Yeah, those pieces are giant. So, the largest chess set that I've ever saw, I was stationed in Germany when I was in the army, and we went to Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam, they had a chess set where the pawn pieces like were knee high. This thing was huge. Like it was a chore to move the pieces around. And we played a few games on that big old chess set that was like in the middle of this park. But that's the biggest one that I've ever played on. But this one looks amazing. That's really good job. Really, really cool. Yeah, look how nice that looks. And I want to get more and more into combining woodworking. You guys will see tomorrow with the laser engraver and cutting out wood pieces and stuff like that. But starting to really branch out and how we can use 3D printing in everything that we do. And I believe this is the finished one. And you said is this the Bambu white marble, PLA marble, Peter? Or is it a different PLA marble? Really cool. Love to play chess on this. $54 hours total on the X1C. Wow. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed that story. Let me get back to the comments here. Johnny, the CR10 was actually so frustrating that I had to splurge on Bambu because I lost confidence to rely on the Creality for any thought of selling my 3D parts. I put that Creality in a box and it has stayed there. I don't even want to mess with that thing to print out anything. It's just, you can't print any. It's stupid. I recently got the Wham Bam PEX per your recommendation, and I don't regret it. I haven't had issues with flow calibration either. Yeah, I need to use that. So more willpower. My problem is I bought like 12 different plates, so I'm always using them. And I like the texture of the PEI plate kind of the most, but I need to use the Wham Bam more. I do still use it every once in a while, but I use probably the PEI plate the most. But I go back and forth between that one and the cool plate as well. Why don't you use the 6mm nozzle on the Bambu? I do use the 6mm nozzle for the carbon fiber prints, Johnny. I specifically used the 0.6 for that. I used the 0.4 one time, and it clogged up the nozzle pretty bad. So I've used the 0.6 ever since then. The Ender has become a 5-axis test bed. That's funny. Yeah, I want to buy a laser for cutting acrylic and engraving. Have to get a second X1C first, though. Yeah. Well, watch the video tomorrow. Maybe you'll get the laser engraver first. I have the same idea. So the acrylic, the laser engraver can cut out light diffusers really well. So if we want to make, LED lights in general, and you want to make your own custom shapes and everything, you can draw stuff up in Tinkercad with Peter. And you can just cut out an acrylic piece to fit in there as a light diffuser. And that's actually what I'm going to do once we get the LEDs done for the lithophane, is I'm going to use that laser cutter to cut a piece of the acrylic for the light diffuser as well. Yeah, bamboo filament. That bamboo marble, I printed that castle with that. Man, it turned out good. I really like that. I wish they would make like a gray marble one as well, or some different colors in the marble. That would be really cool. I can't sell my Ender, so I may get a Sonic pad. I just hate to waste it. Would rather sell it. Yeah. Yeah, light diffuser. The you should be able to cut out acrylic to make a light diffuser for different LED things. So I've had the idea of doing like those little nano leaves and like printing everything out and making your own nano leaves. That's why I want to do a video here pretty soon on how to make LEDs easy. I want to make a controller where you can just make, I want to make like 5 or 6 of these little controllers that are basically plug and play, and you can just plug in the LED strips or whatever you're using and it connects right to your phone. I want to make a bunch of them right in a row so I can just plug and play every time I need a LED thing. But then, we can make LED lights, lithophane things, different things like that, and you just plug in those, and the laser engraver will be perfect for the acrylic for the diffuser, as well as cutting the plywood for the back piece of it, where I want to put the LED strips. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's check in on this print and see if it is still doing good. Thanks again, Peter. Okay, on the pic I have up, the white pieces are marble, the black pieces are carbon fiber. The tiles are carbon fiber. I'm guessing these black ones are carbon fiber, and the white tiles are white matte, not the jade white PLA basic. Nice, nice. Oh, we're going right along. 23 out of 1,250 layers. I think that's the biggest one, or maybe the Mandalorian was a little bit bigger. It's pretty close to the tallest or the most amount of layers that I've had. All right, she's doing good. And is Simoleon out there? Because the Simoleon sent us some pictures as well. I haven't seen them on the chat there, but if you're out there, I'm going to show your pictures here in a minute as well. Oh, from India. Wow. Thanks for joining us, Johnny. Have fun at church, and we'll see you on the next live stream, or be sure to watch and subscribe. Have a good one. All right, so last weekend I was doing some photography for a rock calling event here in Colorado, and here's some pictures of it. You see inside how realistic these things were. There's a lot of things that were 3D printed inside of the little things there, these little ice chests and stuff. It was really cool. I'll skip through all the videos here. But you can see all these little trucks. They had all kinds of little intricate things inside of them. A lot of 3D printed stuff there. There was a lot of people that did a 3D printing here. I was very, very surprised. This is a cool event. Yeah, just look at all of that in there, painted and everything. It looks like a real truck. That's so funny. But that's where I was last weekend, taking pictures of all these little trucks, and I took a bunch of videos and everything as well. Got a lot of pictures of that one. These little things have winches on them, so if they get stuck, they stick a pole out and they winch it up and everything. It was super cool to see all of these. Lots of really cool RC cars out there. I got to get one of these little trucks. I'm going to have to do it. This is a Colorado Adventure Club on YouTube. That's his little truck there. All right, let's go back and check on this. We'll see if it can handle sport mode. Print it a little bit quicker. Take an hour off of that. That'll do good there. So I guess we'll jump in. I didn't see Simoleon jump on there. Hey, HVAC, I just saw your note on there. How are you doing? Welcome back. So I guess we'll go through Simoleon's prints. Did anybody else send in any prints? I haven't seen. Let me check. Nope. Looks like we just have the Simoleon, so we'll go over his, and then I guess we'll go ahead and end the stream. So let me pull up those pictures real quick. So you might have seen Simoleon in the comments on my videos. He's been a long-time viewer and always has an interesting comment about my videos. He's pretty cool, but he sends us some prints too. This is a Gumby and a Pokey. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen Gumby in forever. And Pokey, that's a pretty good one. And then this one's pretty funny as well. Right, Khalid? I haven't seen Gumby and Pokey in forever. That brought back, like, since I was a real little kid, you know. Um, I remember watching that quite a bit as a kid, so that brought back some cool memories. And this is a cool magnet. I wanted to ask Simoleon if he like printed on a magnet or something like that, or if it's just this magnet at the top that's holding these on. He has a couple of these. It'd be cool to kind of integrate a magnet into these as well. The old SNL skits with Eddie Murphy. That's funny. That's funny. That's super funny. And here's another one. Yeah, I wanted to ask Simoleon about these right here. If he just left a little cutout behind here and glued in some magnets or something, because that looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool coming off the fridge like that. And then last but not least is Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Yeah, all of these look great. If you want your prints showcased on the live stream next week, just send them into my email, lendizzleprints@gmail.com. It's in my about page if you click on the business email, and it's on the splash screen as well. Yeah, I think it's really cool to see what everybody's printing and what everybody's doing for the week. I didn't get a whole lot of things printed. I got the connections for the honeycomb wall printed. That was what I've been printing most of the week. But I was working on getting the studio painted, and I made the tabletops that you'll see me do the review on tomorrow. I made all of those out of rough cut lumber. So that's what I've been working on mostly for like the past 2 weeks, honestly. And then I had that RC thing last weekend. But are there any questions or anything out there? Khaled, what have you been printing? Or has anybody else been printing anything interesting lately? Oh, you know what? I did want to show something cool. So whenever you scroll and move things around, it's pretty. I don't like the way that they do this, and especially whenever you zoom, it would always like zoom to the center of this instead of zooming wherever your mouse is. I wish it would rotate where my mouse is instead of rotating on the center. See how it rotates on the center and not where my mouse is? Like I'd rather the screen rotate around my mouse. There is a way to make this zoom on where your mouse is though. However, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if instead of it trying to zoom on the center, you can have it zoom on where the mouse is up here in preferences and zoom to mouse position right up here at the top of preferences. Be sure to go and check that one. That one's much, much, much happier or much more handy than without it. So be sure to check that one. That's one of the new. Ooh, why is this language on there? Cancel. I'll change that later. That's one of the more handy things that I've noticed lately within here, because you can kind of zoom in and out where you want, and it makes navigating in here a little bit better. You just ordered your X1C last Thursday, supposed to arrive Monday in Canada. That's not that bad of a turnaround. That's not that bad of a turnaround on there. Did you get the AMS with that, Khaled? Are you going to do some multicolor prints as well? I just printed that engine block cooler that's been showing up in different groups. Interesting. Interesting, Ice Tech. Well, you got the AMS as well. Nice, nice. What's the first thing that you have planned on printing? I printed the poop shoot. That was the first thing that I printed. It's on my channel too. I think I still have that one on there. I took some of those really old ones down, but this is my new poop shoot. And Khaled, I'll tell you the poop shoot works, but that thing fills up. If you do one multicolor print, you're gonna have to empty that thing out and it spits stuff out the back. It kind of gets clogged up back there and everything like that. So this is upside down. This is the top, but this is just the right height to be right at the top of the little chute in the back. And what I do is I cut a hole in the table, and I'll go cut a hole in my table, and I just put a trash can underneath it. And in this room that I'm in right now, where I've had it before, I never had to change that trash can. I had to change a poop chute 2 or 3 times during printz, but I've never had to change that trash can. It's almost full though. Hard to explain, something to integrate with square wire mesh chicken wire. Yeah, a necessity. You know, the whole reason that I got into 3D printing is I have a full wood shop, right? That's how I made those tables and everything. I got planer, joiner, all of that. That's why I said, Peter, if you could bring me some wood, I'd appreciate it. I'll put it to work. But I have a DeWalt miter saw, and there's a dust collection adapter that you can print for it that makes dust extraction on it a lot better. And you can't buy this thing. You have to 3D print it. It's just an STL file. And I went to have somebody print it, and it was like $250 to have this thing printed. And I was like, well, no way am I doing that. I'm going to see how much a 3D printer costs, and I'm going to print that thing myself. And that's what I did. That was the first Creality that I got. I printed that and the tree thing. And after that, it was downhill. But the whole reason I got into 3D printing was out of necessity. So that's really cool. Send us a picture of your first prints and let us know how it goes. And hey, Eduardo, welcome. I ordered my X1 carbon combo and an additional AMS on June 6th and expected to arrive on June 14th. I ordered mine it was like November 20th or something like that, and it didn't show up until the day before Christmas, like December 24th. So it took a really long time. So that's pretty good turnaround times on that. And then you got the additional AMS. I got the second AMS, Eduardo. I got the box with the AMS before I got the X1C with the other AMS, because when you get the combo, the AMS actually comes inside of it, inside of the little doors and everything. But I got the second AMS, and then I got the printer like a week later. It was pretty funny. I'm going with the full garbage can behind it for poop. Yeah. The little poop chutes, they don't do it. Those things are cute. But if you're going to print anything, they don't work. And Jasoa, I hope I said that right. I just got my X1C on Monday. Thanks for your vids. I had a good start on using it. Awesome. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks to help you with that. And thank you for the watching. Thank you for the support. Ice Tech, I have 2 AMSs, thinking about ordering another one, but also contemplating ordering another X1C combo instead. You know, if I was to get a second Bambu printer, I would go with the P1P, honestly. Unless you're just printing a lot of like ABS and carbon fiber that needs the enclosure. But if you're printing like PLA and PETG, I would save a couple bucks and just get the P1P if you don't unless you just absolutely need 2 enclosures. But if you don't, you might be able to get that P1P quicker, Ice Tech. I'm trying to help you out. Khaled, you and I have a lot of similarities at woodwork with hand tools. Also been getting into diode laser next. Yeah, watch tomorrow's video. I'll give you guys are all on the live stream. I'll give you the heads up. They sent that thing to me for free. A bunch of different companies have tried to send those laser engravers and they all look like crap. The one that this one sent me looked like a pretty decent one, and I put it together. The instructions were pretty easy, well packaged. For all the specs and everything of what it is, it was the more higher end one. It was pretty good. I think it's going to be a pretty good one. I'll give you guys a sneak peek on the bad and the ugly for that, and for any laser engraver if you've been thinking about that. The software for it sucks bad, real bad, horrible. It's horrible, trash software. But you can get around it, but it is trash software. It's a learning curve on that. It's noisy too. That's the one thing with the X1C. So if you guys have seen my review of it, that thing's noisy. The laser engravers are even noisier a little bit. But they're on the same level as noisy. When the X1C does the vibration for the calibration, that's when it's its loudest, and that's about what the laser engraver is. And it's a little smoky. So if you, they do sell those enclosures for the laser engravers. I'm probably going to invest in one, or Khaled, maybe I'll make one out of some plywood or something like that. And you also went through the the crapality learning curve. Same. Your background is in 3D model and animation. Awesome. You're going to have to design some projects for us. Plan on sharing some projects once I get the printing going again next week. Awesome. Do that. And any tips and tricks you have on 3D modeling, I'm a super amateur at that. So any of those that you have for us, let us know. Eduardo, my extra AMS is supposed to arrive tomorrow, but the X1C is not arriving till next Wednesday. Same thing. I got my my extra AMS like a week before. That's sweet. Looking forward to what you think. Yeah, send us the pictures. Let us go. Light burn is the program for lasers. Yeah, but all right. So I'll tell you why the software sucks. We live in a Wi-Fi world, and really the only way you can get either one of those to work is with the stupid USB cable. The laser thing, and probably I'm an amateur and I just need to mess with it, but that's the thing is, look, I work for the world's largest technology company, and I work on their most high-end computers. The computer that you guys are looking at right now has 768 gigabytes of RAM, to be specific. I know a little bit about a computer, and if I can't immediately connect to the network with something, there's an issue with the ease of use of this thing. And I guess with light burn, you're supposed to have some light burn bridge, I guess, that I'm going to have to mess with trying to get installed in there and do all of that. But like, seriously, guys, you can't connect to this thing by Wi-Fi in 2023. And the other program finds it on the Wi-Fi network, but refuses to connect with it. That light GRBL or whatever, Peter, that one, it has a little Wi-Fi thing and it shows up, I got the IP address of it or whatever. And I know which one it is, and it fails on connecting every time. So for me in 2023, if the device has Wi-Fi and your software supposedly has Wi-Fi and you can't make that happen in 2023, that's a F in my book. F. And both of them are that way. Big fat Fs. Vector drawing, as far as I can tell, Lightburn likes the vector images. Yeah, the drawing and all of that part seems to be pretty straightforward. And I think it's those, you probably know more about this than I do, Khaled, but the SVG images and all of that, I messed with that when I was doing the logos and everything. That's an easy way to get logos into Tinkercad to make 3D is by using those SVGs. But it looks like it's pretty easy to get in there and draw stuff in 2D and do all of that. And I'll try to bring in my logo or something. Maybe we'll try to burn in my logo into the table that I built or something like that, and go from there. I use Vectrix VCarve because my laser's on the CNC. See, that's the next thing that I need to get for my wood shop. And I think I might. Peter, do you recommend that Vectrix VCarve, or is there another one that you would recommend? I don't want a huge CNC. I'm looking at something $1,000, $1,500. My garage is already full of stuff. But that's one of the next things that I'd like to get is a CNC machine. With you on the Wi-Fi. I'm always trying to be on the Wi-Fi. Hey, this is the wireless age. Wireless networking is pretty doggone easy. They don't want me to get in there and show them how to do it. Yep, using VCar for my CNC router. Jizoa. A lot of woodworkers in here. Seems like Peter, Khaled are all in here, and looks like Jizoa too, maybe. Or what do you make with your CNC routers? What I'd like to do is spend way less time sanding and stuff when I got to make little parts out of wood or whatever, I'd rather just CNC that stuff out. But there you can do engraving with CNC too. I think that'd be pretty cool to do as well. Oh, another cool thing with the laser engraver is engraving and then coloring it and everything like that. So I'm going to mess around with that stuff too and try to carve out some stuff and then add some color to it with some powder coat. Yeah, if anybody has recommendations or anything like that on a good, not a super cheap, but not the most expensive, but a decent CNC for my garage, let me know. I've been intimidated by the different tooling and spinny dangerous things. Yeah. Yeah, but it's just a router. It's really a router on a Core XY thing. Honestly, I'm not too worried about it, but that is funny. Spinny dangerous things. Yeah, I don't think the tooling is that bad. I would imagine there's just a couple of bits that you'd have to use unless you wanted it to do like roundovers and all of that, which I wouldn't do. I wouldn't use a CNC to do roundovers and put all those crazy bits on there. I guess you could, but I wouldn't. I'd do all that by hand. It's quicker. But yeah, that's the next thing I need to get is a CNC machine. All right, let's see where this thing is at. Did it blow up yet? Nope, she's still going good. I'm telling you, and look at that. I mean, once you calibrate that filament, I tell you what, it just prints. You don't have to do that flow, and I feel like the print quality is a lot better. V-Carve has a steep learning curve, but extremely powerful. $350 for the desktop version. So does that work with laser engravers too? Does it just send out the same G code, or is that just for the CNC? I don't mind paying the $350 for software if it's worth the crap. And I would imagine there's going to be somewhat of a learning curve because it's three-dimensional and different things like that, and the different, tips. I don't know how many you'd really need, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. I would expect some kind of curve on that, but if the software is decent, I don't mind paying the $350 for it, but it's when they want to charge you for it and it's crap. And Lightburn is one of those, like they want to charge you. I did the free trial of it. I doubt I'll figure out a way to keep doing the free trial because I don't know if I'm going to pay for that. Because again, in 2023, if you can't connect to a Wi-Fi device, that's a fail. You just go back to the drawing board. Again, I work for a super large tech company. You came into my company with some crap like that, I'd kick you right out the door. I built a Joe's 4x4 hybrid, ended up realizing I'm allergic to sawdust, so got into 3D printing. Less mess and noise, yeah. If I ever get into CNC, I'll be asking you guys a lot of questions. That's funny, yeah. I think Peter's the expert around here. Well, I'll be asking Peter on how to mill lumber from a tree, as well as how to get the CNC to work. We'll have to get Peter to make some videos for YouTube on how to get the CNC to work so we can all use them. It will only work with the CNC attached lasers. Got it. Awesome. All right. Well, here we are at time again. Another hour gone by very, very quickly. This is probably one of the more funner, one of the more fun live streams that I've had. I appreciate everybody's comments and everything like that. Peter, again, appreciate you sending in your pictures of your prints. Everybody else, please send in some more pictures of your prints. Give Lenny here some content for his live streams. Help me out here. But I'd really like to see what everybody's out there, printing. And even, Peter's example here was really cool because it was woodworking and all of that, and, combining a lot of different talents together. So if you guys have any of that type of stuff, send that stuff in. Really cool. Woodcraft has a great series of videos on CNC. That's good to know as well. But yeah, everybody have a great week. I hope you enjoy tomorrow's video. And send in your prints. I'll see everybody next weekend. Have a great Sunday. Have a great week, everybody. Really appreciate everybody's support and views. Thank you. Bye.